Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. This is going to be an unbelievable hour here. I'm Harvey Freed. She is Becky Alley.
Good morning, everyone. And I am sad that you guys are not all in the studio with us because the energy is here and it's on and popping. And I only hope that we present this energy right through these radio waves because there's magic in this room right now, for sure.
I got to present everyone who came to join us this morning, and I really thank you guys. And Laura Weiss, thank you for bringing in this unbelievable Middle Eastern spread here. I think I got the best food coming here. Of course. Welcome to our show, Laura. And again, I love all about Michigan and the culture, and we might even get into that. We have so much to offer here in the state of Michigan. Laura Weiss from EXP. You bring in Jim. I can almost barely say it, Jim. I said it before.
Ajami.
That's easy. Jim Ajami. And thanks, Jim, for telling me, of course, that you're an All-American baseball player from the University of Michigan, man. That just changed my whole morning, so welcome to the show.
And my brother.
And your brother.
Oh, hey.
My pleasure, Harvey. Big fan of the show.
Thank you so much. And, of course, EXP Real Estate, Kim Connors. And Kim, of course, me and Troy, her husband, have known each other for a while. We worked for years with special needs children. Troy's unbelievable. So you got some good vibes going on, and we got a lot to talk about. In fact, we have a deal closing next week, new construction purchase.
We do.
And so we're talking a little bit about new construction all morning long. Laura brought in these great construction hats. Becky, you love props.
I do love props. Anyone that knows me loves, I do not shy away from a good prop. That is for sure. So if you are checking us out live on Facebook, you will see that we all have the construction hats on because you're looking at some real top-notch gurus and people that understand the ins and outs of new construction. A lot of people do not.
Yeah, and that's a great topic, too, because the inventory has been just horrible, of course, because everybody in the world was able to refinance these mortgages and back in 2020 and 1 and now 22. Now we're in 2023 and everybody's fighting. Boy, Jim, everybody's fighting over the same house. We have 5 or 6 clients fighting over the same house. So let's just dive in a little bit here in Southeast Michigan and give us a vibe. What are you seeing about inventory? Is it still super tight? Are some listings popping up here as we get into the springtime here?
Yeah, inventory is still really tight, but since there's seasonality, there is some more inventory popping up, but still really hyper competitive. So it's really you got to make sure you're ready with a great lender like you, and so you can put your best foot forward. Absolutely.
We always say you better have a great team nowadays. And even when a client, sometimes they don't decide to come with us for whatever the reason might be because they're not real smart. But besides that, you need the team. They're still calling me back, Becky, and they're saying, Harvey, I got some questions here. Can you help me? Because nothing can take away from my 31 years of experience. And, sure enough, I built 3 new homes also.
Yeah, I mean, new construction is its own animal sometimes. So if you are going the new construction route, you want to make sure that you're with the right people because there's a lot of legalities. There's a lot of you're hitting a moving target going 1,000 miles an hour and you don't even know when the real target could be because the builder can change the dates whenever they want. And the other key thing is when you're looking at these contracts, you're not factoring in, and what I feel like after a closing of a new construction is buyers get into trouble with they're not allocating funds for that landscape. That sod, they're left with raked dirt and they're like, oh my gosh, I took every penny I had to get into this house and now I need to refinance, Becky, because I can't fulfill the HOA, documents and say I have to plant 10 ferns in my front yard. And those are things that are in these contracts. So if you're not with the right person, you're going to miss that and you're going to get burned.
Laura,
Absolutely.
definitely dive in with this one. 25 years or more with handling new constructions, working with builders. And of course, Laura, you're helping families get into new construction. You did a great seminar, I think, this past Thursday.
We did, yeah.
Tell us a little bit again. Becky says landscape, also the hardscape. When your dog goes outside and they're coming with muddy shoes, you're like, we need a deck out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your deck or patio. You've got your blinds. So when you educate the buyer, it makes such a big difference so that they know what they're going to have to allocate. Yeah. There's so many things that I don't want to say all realtors, but there's a lot of things that people don't know. And so having the right team, lender, realtor, is vital to making sure that you're going to have the right experience. A lot of people don't know that when you go into a builder, the salesperson there represents the builder and has no legal fiduciary interest to the buyer. So you want to make sure you take a realtor into the builder sales office.
Strong point.
You almost want to slow it down because it's
Yeah.
a lot of hurry up and wait. And what you even just mentioned blinds. Like, I know for sure that most real estate agents are not discussing what the window treatments are going to be of a new construction house because everyone is just focusing on let's just close.
Let's
Close.
close it. Yep.
But you need to be with someone that it's like almost like the Matrix where the information is coming so fast, but it's like slow motion to you because you already know the things that are happening. You got to raise your gaze and not just look right at your nose. You got to be looking at what's happening a month down the road, 3 months from the road, the grass, the cement, the deck, all those things, because you're going to have this beautiful sliding glass door and you're going to fall off into like a ditch because you don't have the stairs there for it.
Laura, let's dive into that. So you show up to, you got your real estate agent and you're talking new construction and maybe you have 3 or 4 different appointments to go see these different buildings. So you show up and now you can see the different elevations that are offered, of course, all the different models.
Correct.
And then we get into even the amenities in the house. So if you're a kitchen person, you might want to spend some extra money, and builders will work with you a little bit. Sometimes that wall gets pushed out a little bit different design. When you're building a custom house, some of the builders are willing to make some changes based on your lifestyle.
But you nailed it if you're working with a custom builder. So you've got a lot of builders that are big, they're national, and they don't make any changes. So they'll have those few structural options that you can choose from. If that doesn't work, then you can't build with them.
You're like, you can't sit with us.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like that. So I had a friend who puts in, she loves baking, and she puts in more of a residential Thermador, the really great oven.
Mm-hmm.
And the Thermador guy's out there all the time. The thing's breaking. She's using it like she's running a factory making the muffins every day. So it's very important. Maybe then you might be down the road replacing some of these, just to keep with the kitchen and the appliances. One of our favorite rooms, of course, for everybody is gathering these kitchens and, of course, open spaces. So, yeah, maybe you end up just doing a basic package, knowing that maybe you'll use those in the basement in the future. You can take out a builder grade, regular dishwasher. Maybe you can put that in the basement, knowing that you're going to put a higher quality kitchen together afterwards.
Absolutely. Well, if the builder doesn't offer what they're looking for, I always tell them to go with the base and then put them in the garage, put them on eBay, put them in the basement, give them to a first-time buyer that you know in the family. But we want to make sure that when people are looking at their options and we look at their budget and we know what they can spend and their comfort level is, we want to make sure that they are getting the things that fills their wants. I mean, their needs first. And then the wants come second.
Correct.
Because people will walk into a model, it's a showcase. We want my house to look like that. I'm like, no, you don't. There's things in here that you can do after. So to have someone that knows that is so important. Like we want the finished basement. No, you don't with a builder. You want to do that after the fact. Oh, and by the way, you're working with a realtor or a team of realtors that have all of those connections. So that's very important.
Now, we have seen with the boomers that are selling their homes and they're looking at some of these attached new construction attached condos or site condos or whatever you might be running into. There are some of those families that are, you know what, I'm selling my McMansion now to a family with, 4 bedrooms upstairs. And usually they're looking at these ranch-style homes or Cape Cod-style homes. Yeah, maybe sometimes they end up spending some different money and they go, you know what, I do want it to look like this and I have the money. Okay.
Absolutely.
In that case, it's in move-in condition. You don't have to touch anything. If money's not an issue, maybe it is okay to go ahead and say, I want it to look just like that. I mean, if the price is right, it's all done. And you don't have to worry about doing anything after the fact.
Absolutely. And I think what's really important is when you're first talking to someone and getting to know them, you have to know what they want. You have to be able to say, why are you moving? Find out exactly what their needs are, what their wants are, what they have to have. And then you go from there. You've got right now a really hot generation is the multi-generational houses. People want that guest suite on the main level for their parents or for a teenager that doesn't want to be next to them upstairs in the bedrooms. So that's really important to know what you can do structurally in a floor plan. So when you look at a floor plan, you should be able to say, okay, their hot button is their kitchen. Make sure that kitchen is functional. It's got a lot of areas for food prepping and things like that. That's so important to know with our buyers.
All right. When we come back, Kim Connors is going to tell us all about, Kim, like, you know what they said? Getting to know your buyer, getting to know your sellers. That's what it's all about, relationships. When we come back, 248-539-9797. All of your questions. All right, welcome back to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289, Equal Housing Lender. If you want to give us a call, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. That's easy. You'll find Becky and I at the office weekly or at any time, and here live in the studio. 248-539-9797. Kim Connors, Jim Adjemi, Laura Weiss, all joining us from eXp Realty. We focus the show a little bit on new construction today. So we all got our hard hats on here, or plastic hats on here. And there's so much new construction that's starting to pop up as the inventory has been really bad. Kim, I said I wanted to go to you because the truth is, when you sit down with a family, you do want to know really everything about them. If it's a younger couple, are they planning on raising a family here in these subdivisions and stuff? Just give us a little bit about the insight about relationships and when you first get to know these folks.
Well, I think it's really important to get to know your client because I'm looking for a client for life.
Right.
Nobody's ever going to buy just one home. So it's really important to build that relationship early on. Find out what's important to them, where they are in their life. But some of the really big advantages to building a new home is you're not getting into the bidding wars that are going on right now. People are looking for, like we talked about, what's going to happen after they move in. You know, what kind of expenses they're going to incur. The nice thing about a new build is you're not going to have those costly repairs right away. Everything's going to be to your liking. You're not going to have to change anything, which is a huge advantage because a lot of kids, a lot of people of all generation are getting into these homes with every dime they have.
Yeah.
There's not a lot left over.
And all of a sudden now you need a new oven or something like that. And new
Right.
construction comes with so you get the warranties with the appliances that typically come with, let's just say Whirlpool out there. It's one of the local companies in Michigan.
Right.
I'll use them. Right. And then also a builder gives you, how long is the home warranty on new construction homes?
Every builder is different. So you have a 1-year standard Michigan builder warranty that everybody has to give a client, a buyer. And then you have the bigger companies have a 10-year structural, a 15-year structural, and then you've got some that have like a 1 or 2 additional year structural on top of the warranties from the manufacturers.
Hey, Becky, the pandemic housing boom pushed national home prices up over 40%. We all know that.
Yep.
You're sitting on a bundle of equity if you bought a house. Coupled with the higher mortgage rates now has resulted in that really tough to get a house, and affordability has been a little tough out there. Builders are simply more affordable housing. We're seeing these entry levels. You see them about 1,600 to about 2,700 square feet. They're not really building those McMansion. And if you do see the bigger homes, 3,000 or plus, Laura, those are usually custom homes. But we do see them at about $500,000.
Absolutely.
Probably about 2,300 square feet to 3,000, $500,000 to 650. These homes are gorgeous. And again, Beck, you don't have to keep the house forever. You don't need to keep the mortgage forever necessarily.
Yeah, I mean the reality is a little bit of the higher rates have been our friend, for the buyers out there, because over the last couple of years it's gotten out of control. There's a difference between price and value. Okay, there's a difference between what the house is truly worth versus what someone's truly going to pay for that because they want to win. And if I want to win, if I'm going in on an offer, there's no maybe, and if money's not an object, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win that house. And you had a lot of people that were bragging about their lower interest rates, but they're not bragging over the fact that they paid $100,000 over the ask price to obtain that home. And so new construction right now is a little bit of a key as far as, because we're in a housing crisis. It is what it is. People are saying they're waiting for the housing bubble to happen. Well, it's not going to happen. The level of inventory that was going on, you had over, it's like you're at over 400 million homes were on the market in 2008, we'll say, in comparison to 500,000 nationally today. There's a huge difference as far as that inventory is concerned.
Absolutely.
And new construction over the last 10 years, the reality is not enough homes were built over the last 10 years, and you have the family growth. You have 43 million, we talk about all the time, that age demographic from 24 to 34 that are entering the buyer's pool, and they're all fighting over the same 500,000 houses over, nationally. Not to mention, that's not even taking into account what you mentioned earlier, the generational homes, right? Grandma's right sizing into maybe a senior living center, and now she's selling to her grandchildren, or she's selling to their daughters or whatever. And those aren't even hitting the market because people are house swapping within the generational, how they're growing, like the family sizes.
Well, the other thing is that the generation. So you've got the millennials
Yeah.
that are not buying entry-level houses right now.
Yeah, they're going right up to 400,000.
Oh, plus.
Yep.
I've got 3 buyers right now, my son's friends, that are all looking at $500,000 to $700,000 houses for their first house. That just, it blew me away.
Yeah.
But they've been smart. Some of them have lived with their parents after school. They saved their money. And that generation I see with my son, they enjoy life experiences versus I know they all drive nice cars and they like nicer things, but they enjoy life experiences. They'd rather, instead of going to the bar like other generations used to, now they're going to high-end restaurants.
Yeah.
And they're saving their money, and they have huge down payments. Like, I don't have one yet that's not putting at least 20% down.
I'm hanging with the wrong dudes.
Well, no, it's true. But what she's saying is true. Like our generation, like, so I bought my first house when I was 24 and it was $150,000. That was the standard entry level home 20 some years ago. Right. But it is different. People were afforded, so obviously when you are a parent, right, your job is to do better than what you experience, right? So, for our children, we're like, okay, stay home a little bit, go to college, save up that money because I don't want you to struggle the way that I struggled, XYZ, and whatever your situation might be. And now they are entering the buyer's pool on a much higher level of your entry level homes than what we were in, like when I was that age.
Jim, definitely though, without running those numbers up, and they're big numbers, 350. We're talking 4. We're up to 650 already. We're talking some big numbers. Our generation, though, Jim, you and I are about the same age.
Yep.
I was struggling down at Eastern Michigan. You were at University of Michigan, killing me. But look, our first time homes, mine was $78,000, and it was a cute little ranch. I think it goes about $160 now. And there are homes at $150,000. I've got one closing next week at $135, still in East Point.
Yep.
And someone went in there and fixed it up. So let's, without scaring everyone away, there are entry level homes in Michigan, and Michigan's so affordable. Let's talk a little about the affordability here and some of the different homes all around the area.
I think it's a great point. I think it comes down to education and who you're working with and setting expectations. And, so some of my most fulfilling clients are the ones that are entry level, because we're able to, educate them, and there's so much gratitude. And those are literally, we do every house has a story, in our organization. And I love hearing success stories. There are those opportunities, but it really does matter the team you have representing you, the lender, the agent, and their expertise. So, yeah, I love that, and there's still opportunities out there.
Yeah,
well, Michigan is one of the few affordable metropolitan, states, nationally. I mean, you're, in Colorado, New York. I mean, even rent is $4,000 a month in New York. And so you have a lot of outsiders that are coming in. And my biggest thing is, Lining, we help people turn a house into a home. And whether it is your first home at $50,000 or if it is your first home at $500,000, whatever it is, the price point, everyone does have a story, and it's all about meeting those expectations like you mentioned. And one of the biggest things is for the first time home buyers, it's not the payment that's the issue, it is the down payment that is really of the concern. So I did want to get into some of the recent announcement with MIJDA that came out, which is probably the most important or most popular down payment assistance program here in Michigan.
We are definitely going to dive right into that. Hey, be sure to call us, though. We're up till 10 o'clock. Of course, we got sports all day long here on 97.1 The Ticket. Tiger baseball this afternoon at 4 o'clock as they going to go whip the Nationals again. And then some other stuff. Pat Caputo coming in at 10 right after us. So keep it here. We're up with you till 10 o'clock. Be sure to give us a call at 248-539-9797. If you think you're about buying a house or selling a house, give us a call. We'll get you set up with these fine folks. Definitely first responders are still getting an additional $750 off. Call Capital Mortgage Funding. Call Becky or myself. Any first responder out there. Hey, we want to shout out nurses, paramedics, emergency medical service, police officers, dispatchers, rescue. You folks are working, your firefighters. You guys are working your tails off for us. And all those hardworking people out there. Be careful. If they're trying to repair our roads out there, slow it down a little bit here. And the sun is starting to shine. I want to throw out there a lot of great things in Michigan. And Becky, right before we go to Michigan, let's just touch on our area, Michigan, with all these different opportunities. We're talking about different pricing. We're talking about different cultural things. I mean, we are a diverse community here. We all need to hold hands and make it work here for the better good of all of us.
Oh, that's just vital because you work with everybody, and you have different cultures that have different things that are important to them. Mm-hmm. I have younger buyers that are calling their parents in a different country, making sure that everything that they're buying is fitting with their cultural needs. So knowing that and being able to work with different cultures like that, I think is vital to make sure that they're getting what they want and they're not settling. So that's huge. And there are just so many different things. And if you educate yourself, there's some good literature out there for realtors to know what different buyers want. That's just huge.
Well, because it's not soup du jour. It's
No.
not one size fits all.
Absolutely.
Everyone's buying experience is completely different, and we are experienced professionals putting out experience for our buyers. And reality is that you need to be sensitive to what people are wanting and needing. Right? There's a difference between
Absolutely.
wants and needs, but there are some things that are non-negotiable, and slowing it down and having the right conversations is going to set everyone up for success.
Absolutely.
Okay, folks, we're up against our second break here. The show's just flying by. When we come back, Becky mentioned there's some MSHDA changes. One of the best programs out there, Michigan State Housing Development Authority, $10,000 in every zip code. We'll come back and tell you some new changes. Keep it here. Alrighty, welcome back to the show. It's 9:29 if you're just joining us. Is it already May 20th? We're going to be off next week because of Memorial Day. A little salute out there to all the veterans out there and current military that obviously protect us and do the right thing here across the United States. Salute to you guys. And again, be sure to call Capital Mortgage. We'll hook you up with a great VA loan, no doubt about that. If you've served the country, it's time for you to get repaid back. Of course, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, our corporation, Becky, we are one of the top 3 lenders in VA loans across the United States. It's a great program at zero down. We offer all programs at Capital. 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. But better yet, Becky, the MSHDA program is opening up a little bit lately and more changes to come.
Yeah, they actually have been coming out with some pretty big announcements, especially for the down payment assistance, because they're really tight. I mean, if you're looking for down payment assistance, the reality is if you're a first-time home buyer or a repeat buyer, you either fit in that box or you don't. And when the state is going to give you free money, it's, you got to fit certain criteria. The underwriting, there's 2 different underwrites, so the state also does their audit. But the key thing is that the state of Michigan is recognizing that they really need to focus on helping people that are looking to occupy homes, help them get into affordable housing. So some of the things that have changed is before it was limited where depending on where you're going to buy, you could get $10,000 of down payment assistance but everywhere else was $7,500. Well, they just recently changed last week that no matter where you're looking to buy in Michigan, if you fit in the criteria, whether you're a first time or a repeat buyer, depending on if it's a targeted area, it's now $10,000 across the board. The biggest announcement, though, one's coming next week. I'm going to announce that. I had a schedule here. But the biggest announcement, though, one of the biggest ones that came out just yesterday was that they are now going to allow people that are living in the house, they don't have to also credit qualify. Because MSJA used to be where every single person that was going to be living in the home, 18 or up, everyone had to credit and income qualify. So let's just say me and Harvey were a couple and my credit's a little bit better than his. He could hinder us if he didn't meet that minimum criteria of a 640.
If you had a deadbeat boyfriend who filed tax returns in your rental.
Harvey's not the deadbeat boyfriend.
I'm sorry. And wanted to buy that house. Yeah, it was a problem. So it's great changes with MSHDA, Michigan State Housing Development Authority, $10,000. Here's why it's important. Everyone's overbidding on these houses, you first-time home buyers. You can use this extra money to make up that difference. So you're using the $10,000. Let's say it's a 3.5% down FHA. You could be a 3% down conventional and get the money. Well, if you're overbidding on these houses, this gives you an extra $10,000 to maybe make the deal happen. I got so much to share this morning. I don't want to go too much into that. 248-539-9797. Becky, just finish that part up.
Yeah, so I want to finish. So the biggest thing, I want to reiterate that is now with these changes, all parties have to income qualify, but now only one person has to credit qualify. There's just certain documents that you need to sign, and then everyone can get into this, the MSJA down payment assistance program. And if it's in a targeted area, you do not need to be a first-time home buyer. And next week, this is really exclusive, they are going to be raising the income limits. Right now, the income limit is $89,000 and some change.
It's helping you out, I know, on one.
Yeah, it's $89,000 and some change.
Yeah.
Next week, they're going to be announcing it's going to go up to $94,700, which is key because that doesn't sound like a lot, or it does sound like a lot, but when you are talking about everyone in the house, the income levels, those little things change. So it's helping individuals get into these houses for the first time or the second time.
Jim, let's go there with a little bit of current housing market and the second best offer out there. So there was a girl I really liked, and I reached out to her and tried to give her helpful tips on why she lost an offer. And then I got a nasty call from her unqualified agent with a crooked tooth. But besides all that, she would have got the house because the second best offer probably could have been her, since I was friends with the listing agent. And instead of using her brain, she let her emotions get away. And it is frustrating. A lot of families not getting the house, but you could be the second best offer. And it turned out that the city didn't allow for pit bulls. And, without getting too dynamic and throwing anyone under, she would have probably got this house. But she made a whole scene and messed it all for herself. Sometimes that second best offer is a great offer. So in a competitive marketplace, be prepared and get your team together.
Yeah, no, I think that's critical. Again, it's about really understanding the buyer's why and educating them along the way. We win quite often without the highest offer because there's other things that are sometimes really important to the seller. And a lot of times we're doing both jobs. We're educating the listing agent so they can communicate with the seller effectively. And, a lot of folks know our firm and know that our buyers are qualified and our lending partners are outstanding like you. And our deals close on time every time. So that's a really important piece.
Right. You dive in a little bit deeper on a house, and sometimes things do fall apart for whatever reason. Something's just a little unique thing. It's not always the inspection, Laura. It could be just something completely different where they find out they can't put their camper in there because of the HOA, the Homeowners Association.
No, absolutely. But you have to be creative when writing an offer. For example, real quick example is I had a buyer that wanted the house. We were not the highest bid, but I got creative with the inspection, and we guaranteed the first $2,500 toward inspection issues the buyer would pay. Yeah. And then anything over that, then it would be suited as, it's not acceptable. But just because of that, and the listing agent knew who I was, knew I'd get it closed, we got the offer and they got their first house.
Well, we're in a market where creative lending has to meet creative offers.
Absolutely.
And you have to be working side by side, shoulder to shoulder. The old days of the lending, being against real estate and real estate being against lending, we all have to work together because that is what's setting up the buyers for success. Because sometimes you don't have to be the highest to be the best.
Absolutely.
The collaboration is key. And again, sometimes if you're working with experienced people, this group right here is awesome. And the friendliness, and you don't realize what you're working with, but everyone's collaborating together. And sometimes someone will just take an offer because they call me up all the time. They said, Harvey, we're taking the offer because we've closed deals with Capital Mortgage. Capital's been around over 32 years. We understand we can call you. You answer the phone. These are reasons that sometimes you can win an offer. It's a different world out there now.
It is a different world. I mean, just real quick on that one, because you had real estate and mortgage lenders just literally popping up like crazy over the last 3 years specifically because everyone was trying
like
to get
dandelions out there or something.
For sure. Some of them are weeds, y'all. They're not all like
Absolutely.
Not everyone is a flower. Sometimes you're a weed because everyone was trying to it's easy. Oh, the mortgage rates are so low. I'm going to do this. Well, they were not cultivating the relationships with the referral partners, with the real estate agents. They just thought money was falling from the sky or real estate was falling from the sky. And it's not like that because we are career long haul. We've been in it when there was no business to where there is business. We are here, like we all have over 2 decades long of careers here, and who you work with matters. And we say that often because it's true. Because you never know, we have a lot of buyers out there that are with the wrong team and they don't know they're with the wrong team until they're running around with this piece of paper, skipping down with this piece of paper that at the end of the day, it falls apart because no one really did their due diligence in the beginning. So we might not be the first call, but Harvey and I will always be that last call.
I'll take that. Always drive back into new construction. Salute to the people out there that signed contracts last year or 8 months ago because the prices have already gone up in those new construction projects. Again, the cost of materials, the cost of labor, the cost of the land and carrying this land for the builders.
Right.
If you sign now and it takes the builder a year to build a house, fantastic. You might be sitting on an additional 5 to 10% of equity. And a couple great questions. As Kim, of course, we got a new construction probably closing Friday right before we get into next weekend, as they're going to do a final inspection on Monday. And no, the final inspection was done yesterday.
Right.
And we're going to be clear to close on Monday. And I think we're reaching out and setting that closing for Thursday or Friday. But Adam asked me something great, and I didn't know if I brought it up to you, Laura. He said, "Hey, Harvey, should I do a radon gas test?" And my first thing with any time as an inspection is yes, do whatever you want to do before you sign. But here he's down at the last week of closing, and I asked Laura, and I said, son of a gun, you buy the land as a builder. They do a soil boring test, and they perk the land and whatever all that stuff means. And they don't always do a radon test because
they don't.
Right now, they're digging into the earth, and if there is radon gas, it's not look. You got to get a remedy for it. The machines are between $1,500 and $2,500,
correct,
depending upon the size of the house. It's not a deal killer by any means, but you get it fixed, and there's no problem with you doing that. Now, if you find out you have radon gas, go tell all your neighbors to go get a machine also.
Now, touch on that, please, because they're a new buyer and sometimes a repeat buyer. They don't know what that means because if I hear a gas leak, I'm like 5 alarm, my house is going to blow up. So maybe touch on that as far as what does that mean, how can you remedy it, and why that should not be a deal breaker.
Well, first, let me just say that most builders have a dollar amount in their contract that says if there is radon that you find, if you test it, that they will pay for it. Okay. That's the first thing.
Okay. So it's reading the contract and getting with the agents we have here in the studio to point out that little fine print. But go ahead, yes.
So again, we come back to education, and that's critical. And we always want our clients to feel really good about it. So radon, again, explain, educate. It's never a deal breaker. It's a system, and then it's just a non-issue. So when people want radon tests, absolutely, we encourage it because it's really odd in this market, this metro area. One house could test high for radon, and next door it might not. Absolutely. So it's really an anomaly. So it's really tough on builders too to know.
Jim, people are, again, in this competitive market, they're waiving their inspections. I mean, we're talking about just the above ground inspection, and then you get the sewer line inspection. And every time I mention it to a client and they do it, it pops up. It popped up this week, overbidding situation in Royal Oak. Great house. Everything's fantastic. And all of a sudden, heating and cooling system, he didn't eyeball it properly. He had a good agent, but maybe the agent could have looked. When you're walking through the house, it says the date on the furnace right there. You bring a little flashlight and you look outside and the condenser looks like it's rusted out, and that's maybe $6,000 to $8,000. And now you do a sewer line inspection and they say, look, this is its last couple weeks here. And hey, these things cost money. And when we come back, Jim, because we're up against a quick break, we'll talk about just sort of doing your due diligence, keeping your feet on the ground and being a successful homeowner. 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show, our last segment here. Come and join us, 248-539-9797. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. I'm Harvey Freed. She's Becky Ailey, top 1% of all originators, Scotsman Guide, and all that stuff. These guys are an all-star team here. Kim Connors, Jim Adjemi, Laura Weiss, all EXP Realty and experts in their field and fun to work with. You got to have that team together. Jim's been talking about it all morning. We got tons to share with you still. Again, 248-539-9797 at Capital Mortgage, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. I know Mark's there, and we got a whole staff there to help you all morning and all weekend long. You need a true approval letter. That's at minimum, but there's still a lot more going on. Let's dive back into some of the programs you wanted to talk about. I know you do this new construction program with a couple builders. Laura, go ahead.
I do. So just real quick. So for agents out there that are afraid of new construction, I train everybody. I can train you. I can show you. I can show you the process. The big thing about this program is that you get paid within 60 to 75 days. You're not waiting a year to get paid for your commission. And it's a great program. And then I have incentives that we offer, and we work with great lenders like these two. And it's a really good program. So if you have any questions, give me a call or contact me.
So the game changer that Laura didn't mention in this program is a lot of builders offer a build on your own lot. What's really unique in this program is, identify a city with Laura. Their land people will go out and find a home site, tie it up, and then build the plan that you want on that home site. So it's truly, truly different than build on your own lot. So that's a huge game changer to give you so much more diversity and options.
I call it build where you want to live.
I like that. I always say, I go where you grow. And that's what you're describing, and you're not being stuck in this cookie cutter situation where every house looks the same in the same spot. They're going to go where you're willing to grow. And that's key. And my ears perked up. So you mean to tell me that if you sign a contract today, the home's not going to be built for 12 months from now, the agent can get paid within 60 days, even before the home is completed?
Before the first shovel goes in the ground. What? And realtors love that. They love that.
Yeah, who doesn't want to get paid for whatever efforts they've put in? But I was really interested in how this works. So it's great stuff. Here, look, give us a call here or be sure to contact Laura Weiss and Jim, of course, Jim Adjemi, eXp Realty. You can call us at Capital. We'll get you hooked up with all their numbers. Laura Weiss is easy enough, but definitely give us a call and we'll get you set up with these folks. As you're struggling to find that dream home, Becky, in the city and the location you want to live at, there's some vacant lots out there. There's some opportunities to knock down, and a lot of great things can happen for your life. Again, successful home ownership is what it's all about.
The reality is that here at Capital Mortgage Funding, we are a national lender. So when I say I go where you grow, I truly, genuinely mean that. We are licensed in all 50 states. I'm personally licensed, I think, in 16 or 17. Harvey's licensed in multiple states because we're not transactional loan officers. We've been doing this a really long time, and it is important that if I'm doing someone's parents' loan, they refer their children, that means something to me because that is something that I take a lot of pride in because I treat everyone like I'd want someone to treat my family. And to that point is sometimes we take, not I don't want to say for granted, but we do so many different loan products so that way we can curtail that to the individual buyer that sometimes we don't really progress, we don't throw that out there like that because we just want people to work with us because we're good at our jobs and we know that we're going to have their best interest at heart. But if there's any down payment assistance program out there, we have the ability to do that. If there's new construction programs out there, we have the ability to do that. One program I want to touch on real quick is currently because they're trying to build up Detroit and there's a lot of buzz out there.
Yep.
There's only some lenders that can do it. We are one of them that can, where if you live in Detroit currently and you rent and you want to purchase in Detroit, we can give you an incentive up to $25,000 to go towards your down payment, your closing costs.
That's huge.
It's huge. That is a lot of money that you can obtain here at Capital Mortgage Funding, DBA Fairway, because we are a national lender. We can do these things, especially with the programs with MSHDA, what they announced, the fact that you no longer have to, both parties don't have to credit qualify. That is huge. That is giving everyone these opportunities they wouldn't have anywhere else. So we take a lot of pride in that. And even this builder program that you're talking about where, the agents can get paid before, the first shovel hits the ground, but we can accompany that and make sure the buyers are educated, reading the contracts, because if they don't read the contracts and their agents not reading the contracts, we read the contracts over here at Capital Mortgage Funding and we blow things up sometimes, not in a bad way, but we just say, hey, look,
absolutely,
this is something that you need to be aware of that's in writing. Are you aware of that you are paying the transfer tax that generally is a seller cost? Are we ready for this? Have we budgeted for it? Because it's not the lender's not always the bad guy, but we're the ones that have to make sure that everybody is reading the bottom line and what we're looking for.
Hey, Jim. Go ahead, Laura. No, you
please.
got it.
I was just going to say, we know the contracts. We read the contracts. You have to. Like we were talking earlier, the sod, the sprinkler, the landscaping, the deck, the patio. They have to know what their closing costs
the transfer
are estimated.
tax.
Yeah.
They have to know that.
Yeah, but you would be, to be honest with you, I have someone that's
I
now in the
agree.
process of refinancing. They just finished building the property and they wanted to refinance it because they did not have enough money for the sod, the hardscape, the sprinkler system, all these things that were required of them in their contract, to the point that they're now thinking about selling because they realize they bid off more than they can chew. So we're assessing what's going to be the best situation for them.
Hey.
But that happens too often because people were not in line, and they were in line only with the builder, and they did not have proper buyer representation during a new construction process.
Get the proper people to represent you for sure. Hey, Jim, 92% of the markets, they've gone up in value. 40% over the last 3 years, and of all the top markets. So home appreciation is there. So many great opportunities.
Absolutely. And people, like I said, it comes back to the why. Once we know the motivation for a buyer or seller, right now a lot of people are sitting on a ton of equity. So, it's kind of a unique market in which that we can, still help people sell, make a ton of money. And there's still opportunities when you're working with the right people to go buy a house and not have to trade money. 8 months ago, you were selling at the top, but you were buying at the top. It's not quite like that now. So there's opportunity to really leverage your equity when you do have to move.
You could do the right thing at the wrong time, and you can do the right thing
Absolutely.
at the right time.
Right.
But when you're in line with the right people, will help you do the right thing at the right time. I often say that I'm the backseat driver that talks a lot. Like
No.
I'm going to decide. I'm going to let you know, hey, I think you should maybe turn right. But ultimately, the buyers, it is their decision. I'm going to give them the options. I'm going to give them the tools. I'm going to give them the knowledge, and I'm going to suggest strongly we should maybe hang a right here. But ultimately, if they decide to veer left, I'm just going to make sure that the bumpy road just is not as abrasive as maybe it should have been.
Just like you said, you're treating them like family.
For
and
sure.
That's huge.
And speaking about options in a new construction, a lot of people think that they can't, negotiate pricing with the builder. And
Okay.
typically that's very common. However, options are negotiable a lot of times. And in this home that we're closing,
Yeah.
I was able to negotiate some of the options, which helps them save some of the money to put towards other things that they're going to need once they move in.
All
Like
those things we've been
Absolutely.
talking
landscaping
about.
and-
Significant equity in your home, you may be able to tap into it, help pay some rising expenses. Boy, the Fed funds rate has gone up about 10 times this year, so it is a little expensive out there. Everything's expensive. Grocery store, the gas, you name it, things cost more money. Hey, I was going to put the concrete driveway in last year. That price went up. So
Yeah.
it could be anything, your deck builder, so the cost
Even the
of goods.
car payments right now, like I just
Holy-
did a post on that. People do not realize that when they are out here, it feels like it goes hand in hand where I'm going to buy a house. Oh, and by the way, Becky, my lease payment's up and I need to get a new car, right?
Yeah.
And now the same car that was $500 last year is now $1,000. And when you also are co-signing for individuals, people are not realizing that also goes against what they can overall qualify. So if you're over 10% of your gross monthly income, that is a huge, huge impact of what you're going to qualify for. So you need to make sure you have the conversation ahead of time because people don't think about what they're paying in their car payments. They don't care. They don't think about they co-sign for two other people. And now they have $2,500 in cars and they're like, hey, Becky, well, those other two aren't mine. Great, Harvey. But you didn't document the fact that the other person's paying them. So now I have to count them against you.
Let me double down on that real
Yeah.
quick, and then we'll go to Jim. So if you did co-sign for somebody recently, and don't you make sure that they make the
Yes.
payment. So if they make the payment, and we can
Out
show
of their bank
out
account.
of their bank account, and we can document it. They can't pay cash. I don't want to know if they lost the money order. They need 12 canceled checks and/or automatic payments. You got your bank statements.
Yep.
Let them hang on to their bank statements. Look, if you co-sign them, they need help with their credit anyways. So again, that if they're calling out, have them call us.
Yes.
We can give them a little credit coaching here. We do a lot of that. We do credit improvement. There's lots of ways to help your credit so that you're able to do things better for yourself in the future, Jim.
Yeah. You don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely. And like you said, it comes down to education. And, we've talked about rates a lot, and we don't really get caught up so much in rates. We basically say, hey, you date the rate, you marry the house.
How about we just talk about divorce rent altogether?
So, if they can afford it now, chances are they're going to, they're going to come down at some point. So it's about education and expectations, I think, is critical.
And then when we talk about payment with new construction, I typically tell people about recasting so that they can recast their loan versus refinancing.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and they don't understand it. Most realtors don't understand it. I mentioned it to Harvey. I think he was a little surprised that I knew what it was.
All you realtors are dipping into the mortgage world, but we always dip into your side. That's okay.
I don't mean to dip into it, but I think
Dip.
it's good to educate people.
Yeah.
And during that 7 to 9 month time frame when your buyers are building, they can then, after they've closed on their new construction loan, let's say, for example, they have that time, and if they have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, they can then put it down again like another payment, and that doesn't change your terms, but it does change your monthly payment. So, and you can do that at any point in time. Most lenders do it. I know
do it.
you guys do it. And so that's something to ask your realtor about or call these guys about.
Yeah, you cannot start the conversation soon enough, ever. Never ever start it ASAP. But the point is that if you do decide to not buy existing and you do want to buy new construction, because that's the theme of today's show, you need to make sure that you're keeping status quo. You're not like, oh, I don't need this money for a year from now, so I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to buy the cars. I'm going to do the things. You have to keep the status quo. You got to make your payments. And what she is saying is still save that money as you're leading up to it, so that way you're not bleeding all your expenses dry by the time we get to that finish line. Because it is going to be a long game when you're doing new construction, especially if it wasn't already built.
Correct.
We're playing the long game here.
Use that equity in your house to consider paying off your credit cards. Yes, interest rates have moved up quite a bit, but those credit cards have moved significantly up. I mean, it's just a disaster out there. The cost of everything. And guys, that music says we're up against the end of the show. I want to reach out and thank, of course, Kim Connors, Jim Adjemi, Laura Weiss. You guys are fantastic. You want to do another hour? I'll ask Pat if he can stay.
Yeah, bye, Pat. We're going to stay.
All right, fantastic stuff. Be sure to call Capital Mortgage Funding. Again, we'll hook you up with these fine folks. Also, Becky Alley and our entire staff, the most experienced loan officers all across the state of Michigan. 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We'll see you next week.